Wife started to hate me and our kids all of a sudden, and now she left us. Hi, this is my first time posting, and I am not a native English speaker. I am also sorry for the mess of a text, but I am just mentally exhausted. My wife, 36F, started to become increasingly hostile toward me, 38M, the kids, and even her own parents. Our kids are 12, 9, and 4 years old. I first started to notice it around 1 week ago when our 12-year-old tripped while playing and fell on her face. I ran to her to reassure myself that she was okay, but my wife did not really bother. She just sat on the bench and watched me and our daughter. That evening, I asked her why she showed no reaction, and she shrugged it off and told me that, "You looked after her, so it is okay." That is not her normal behavior at all, and if that had happened a couple of months ago, she would have dropped everything and immediately looked after our daughter. A day after that incident, we were eating dinner, and the 9-year-old asked her to pass him the ketchup. She did not pass it, but instead responded with, "Why do you want to eat our ketchup?" That caught me completely off guard, and I was extremely baffled. He asked if it was not also his ketchup, but she insisted that it was hers and her family's ketchup. I thought she was making a joke, but she looked extremely stern and sincere, so I gave him the ketchup myself. The rest of the day was uneventful, but she kept looking at me and the kids in this, I really do not know, aggressive fashion. As if we were a threat to her. During the last week, I received only one kiss, not a single hug, or any other kind of affection. Even when she sometimes smiles at me, it just looks extremely forced. Sometimes she just looks at me as if she is searching for something. Obviously, I asked her a couple of times if something was wrong, but she always denied it and said everything was fine. The problem is, if she was only hostile toward me, I could somewhat understand it in some way. Maybe I annoy her. Maybe she does not love me anymore. Maybe she thinks I am cheating, or I do not know. But she also seems to hate, or at least feel neutral toward, the children. When they talk about school, she does not care. When they have problems, she does not care. She does not tuck them in at night, and I tell our kids that she is just in a bad mood and has a lot on her plate. But obviously, they know just as well as I do that something is not right. It really got out of hand when, 2 days ago, her mother called me asking if something was wrong with her daughter. Apparently, she either does not answer her texts or only replies briefly, and she does not want to meet her anymore. She told me that my wife said that she is not her real mother, which of course is a horrible thing to say, and neither of us knows why she said it or what exactly it meant. When her mother asked why, my wife just excused herself and said that it was a joke. She never, or at least rarely, had arguments with her mom. We all had a great relationship up until this week, and I just cannot, in any possible way, figure out what changed. It has kept me awake at night because my wife just feels like a completely different person. I started thinking about mental illness. Maybe some form of early Alzheimer's? But it does not seem to fit her behavior. She had depression when she was younger, but that was 10 years ago. She was as lovely as one can be not even 2 weeks ago. There are a lot of other instances of her behavior, but I do not have the energy to write them down right now. That brings me to yesterday. I sat her down and asked her if something was wrong, and told her that I needed an answer now or otherwise we would see a psychiatrist. She started telling me that everything was fine and that she just has to act as she always does. That sentence made me feel sick to my stomach because I did not know what it meant. Is she seeing someone? Is someone holding her hostage? What is happening? I asked her what she meant, but she brushed it off again, saying that she was okay. I then told her that we were seeing a psychologist, and she started screaming at me that I could not make her go. I insisted, so she threw a cup at me, got up, and told me that she wants her real family back. I do not know what that means. We did not change anything. Everything is exactly as it was a month ago. She grabbed her purse and ran out of the house. She returned a couple of hours later and told me she was sorry for how she acted. She did a complete 180 and said everything was good now. She kissed me and told me she would explain it tomorrow, but that she was just tired for now. When we got to bed later, she kept looking at me as if I were a stranger. But I was also extremely exhausted from everything and just fell asleep. It is morning now, and she left the house. I cannot find her, and it looks like she packed some of her things. Some jackets, her purse, and 2 pairs of shoes. I called her parents, her friends, everyone she knows, but none of them have seen her. Her friends told me that they have not had contact with her during the last week either. Should I call the police now? Have any of you experienced something similar? I just do not know what to do. I have never felt this helpless. Edit, I called the police a couple of minutes after the first people here told me to. The police responded, and they took my story very seriously. They said they would search for her immediately. I told them a couple of places she might be. I waited at home and distracted the children, saying that their mom took some time for herself. Her parents are at my house and are playing with the children. They are just as destroyed and unnerved as I am. They found my wife an hour ago at the local park, 5 hours after they started searching for her. It did not look like she was fleeing or in a hurry, but rather just waiting and sitting on a bench. However, they told me that she was extremely hostile toward the police and punched an officer. She is now in a psychiatric clinic, but I am not allowed to meet her, nor is anyone else. Doctors are caring for her and will call me as soon as they know more. Thanks to everyone who replied. I am extremely worried, and I have been reading about all the mental illnesses you have posted. I just hope it is something they can cure quickly. I still feel like I am trapped in a bad dream. Update 1. A lot of people seem to care, and I received a ton of encouraging messages, so I will post an update for you all. We live in Northern Europe, for those who asked. Thanks to everyone who gave me advice. A lot of you assumed schizophrenia or the rare Capgras delusion. Some of you assumed she was cheating, which is something I will not even address. Thinking about it now, Capgras really fit the symptoms, but I could not just accept that. I was still hoping she was somehow messing with us, or that it was something mild and temporary and that I had simply overreacted. After they took her in, I drove to the mental institute to give an exact explanation of what happened during the last week. The psychiatrist suspected some form of schizophrenia. They told me they would look after her and that I should go home to my children. I felt like I was drunk the entire time. I could not close my eyes for even a second that night. The psychiatrist called me yesterday evening and asked me to come to her office. I left my children with their grandparents and drove there, which felt like an eternity. She told me straight up that she strongly suspects Capgras syndrome. She had never seen a case of Capgras before, but it fit everything she had gathered. She explained to me how the past 2 days had gone. My wife arrived there being extremely hostile. She was put in a safe room where she could not hurt herself. She calmed down after a couple of hours, and the psychiatrist was able to talk to her. The good news was that she quickly opened up and explained what she believed was happening. She knows that her family and most of her friends have been swapped by clones. She believed that we, the clones, had sent police officers to get her and that she was scared of what we might do to her. She fled in the first place because she felt that we might attack her, but mostly because she needed space. She still is not sure whether the clones are malicious or not. That explains why she was distrustful of me and always searched for signs in me and the kids. My wife said that we acted exactly like the real people and that our disguises were perfect, but she knew we were not real because she did not feel any love toward me, the kids, or even her own parents. Writing this down feels like a lance piercing through my chest. She also told the psychiatrist how she had been trying to hide her distrust of us because she could not be sure if we knew that she knew we were not the real people. Her delusion that we had been swapped came to her one day before I first noticed something was wrong. 10 days ago. She woke up, looked at me, and suddenly knew that I was not the same anymore. Not the real one. The same happened with the kids, her parents, and her friends. She had never had thoughts like that before. She asked the psychiatrist if she knew who swapped us, why it happened, or if this happens often. The psychiatrist tried to avoid directly answering because she was not sure how my wife would react if she either reinforced or challenged the delusion. My wife asked her when she could leave, and the psychiatrist asked if she wanted to leave. She answered that she was okay staying there. It gave her some comfort being with professionals, and she now had time to think. It helps that my wife is a nurse and respects doctors a lot. The psychiatrist explained to me how they would slowly try to deconstruct her delusion, and that it could take either a short or a very long time until she fully recovers. She also explained that it is possible she may never truly recover. But the fact that she opened up about it and does not necessarily feel terrified is a good sign. I am still not allowed to see her because it could make her panic. She appears to be completely clear-minded about everything else. She knows names, dates, places, facts, and everything she knew before. Only the belief that we are not the real people has become a fact to her. Now I wait until they have either good or bad news about how she develops. Writing all of this down really helped me. I am trying to wrap my head around this situation, and I am mostly scared for her and the children. I cannot hide how distressed I am or the fact that my wife is not home, so I explained to the children that she is in a mental hospital and needs to recover. The 4-year-old does not really understand, but the other two took it surprisingly well. It probably helps that they heard all those morbid stories my wife told them from the hospital, I guess. They asked me when they could see her again, and I told them that I do not know, but I hope it will be soon. I have never felt this empty before, and I do not know if I should be sad or angry. Thanks to everyone here who helped me. I feel like I am sitting in a waiting room at the dentist. It is also surreal. I feel better knowing what the problem is, but worse not knowing when it will end. Final update. Hi, everyone. This will be the final update. It has been 3 months, and I feel like I can finally give another update. Most, if not all, of you probably do not care anymore or have forgotten about this post, but if anyone still wants to know, here it is. I have not responded to most private messages because I simply did not feel well enough to talk about it. I still kind of do not. To address the elephant in the room, my wife is back with us. She is home, healthy, and doing well. She even laughs about the whole incident now. More than I do, to be honest, but that is just me. She immediately started treatment at the Mental Health Institute. At first, they kept her separated from me and the rest of her family and friends. They taught her about relationships, how the brain works, and how people process love and affection, along with many other things like that. Meanwhile, I was at home biting my fingernails away while explaining to everyone what was happening. It turns out that many people I knew and thought highly of do not believe in psychological disorders or mental health problems, so those conversations were fun too. Anyway, this is not really about me. The doctors somehow convinced her that she was experiencing a delusion. Apparently, she believed them almost immediately, but she said she still did not feel anything toward us, even while understanding it was a delusion. Her trust in doctors and nurses made all of this much easier, and I am so grateful for that. They continued working with her and first allowed her to talk to her parents over the phone. She slowly started gaining trust again, and they kind of rebonded. Later, they allowed me to speak with her, and I was not able to say a single word because I completely broke down in tears when I heard her simply say, or rather ask, "Hello?" She told me that everything would be fine, that she just needed more time, and that the doctors knew what they were doing. I regained some strength and told her she could call whenever she wanted. Later, she talked to the kids, and it really helped her. She laughed with them, told them jokes about mental health, and shared memories with them. Gradually, they allowed her to meet her friends, then her parents, her siblings, and finally me and the kids. That was almost 5 weeks after she had been admitted. When she saw me and the kids, she started crying and kissed all of us. She said she was sorry, but I assured her that she had nothing to apologize for. They still kept her there for a couple more days to run final tests before finally allowing her to come home. She returned to work fairly quickly, and we now have the same great relationship we had before all of this happened. The kids are happy, although they still do not fully understand exactly what happened. There are still some traces of distrust in herself. She questions her feelings more often and sometimes dwells on things, but overall, everything turned out okay. Also, it is still not 100% clear why this happened at all. She cannot remember hitting her head or experiencing anything unusual beforehand. It feels good writing all of this down. I wanted to thank everyone who responded and helped me on the original post. Thank you especially to the people who almost immediately recognized the symptoms and encouraged me to call the police. I am sorry I did not answer private messages. I was very busy, and talking about my wife's mental health still feels strange and bitter to me. She knows about this post and the updates, and she sends her love too.